Hey, what's up guys? Joseph here, and this is number 20 through 11 of my top 100 movies of all time.
Number 20
is Saving Private Ryan. Tom Hanks plays a captain in World War II that's assigned to a search and rescue mission to find and save Private Ryan, played by Matt Damon, whose brothers are killed. The opening of this movie is one of the greatest battle sequences in movie history. It has great performances by pretty much everybody. Tom Hanks, Matt Damon, Vin Diesel is even in it, Paul Giamatti.
Number 19
is Gladiator. Russell Crowe plays a Roman general who is betrayed by Commodus, who's played by Joaquin Phoenix, and at the orders of Commodus, Maximus's wife and son are murdered. After Russell Crowe escapes from his own execution attempt, he becomes enslaved and forced to become a gladiator. And eventually, I'll just leave it at this in sake of the story, Commodus and Maximus eventually come face to face once again. Definitely check it out. It's a great performance by Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix.
Number 18
Forrest Gump. Jenny, I can't really talk about this without getting into spoilers. So, spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1. I understand that Jenny got molested by her dad, and I understand that would cause like these commitment issues, but she still deals with the guys who beat her and abuse her, and when Forrest sees it happening, he stops it. He don't play around. He beats the guys up. I don't think he ever got beat up by the guy. I think every time he saw it, he beat the guy up. He never got beat up. But she still keeps him in the friend zone. Great performances all around. Tom Hanks, Robin Wright did a good job. Even though I really didn't like Jenny, she still was fine. Sally Field, the guy who played Lieutenant Dan, I'm probably going to mispronounce his last name, Gary Sinise. It doesn't sound right, but he was great.
Number 17
is Inception. Now, like The Prestige, I wanted to hate Inception going in, but The Prestige began my appreciation of Christopher Nolan, and Inception made me become a fan. I was told going in that it was a complicated and hard to understand movie. I didn't have trouble understanding anything. The performances from DiCaprio, Ellen Page, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy. I honestly can't say what the story is without spoiling anything. Like Memento, I would say don't watch this movie with any distractions. If you don't pay attention, it probably will be hard to understand.
Number 16
Back in the beginning of this series, when I was talking about Social Network, I talked about a certain movie that would be later on and how historically inaccurate it is, but yet I don't care. My number 16 is that movie, and that is Braveheart. I love Braveheart. I don't care how historically inaccurate it may be. It's well directed, it's well written, it's well acted. Battle sequences, everything about this movie. It's nearly 3 hours, 2 hours and 58 minutes, but it doesn't feel that long. Mel Gibson stars as William Wallace, who's a Scottish man who falls in love with a woman, but they secretly get married because at the time, this is like back in like the medieval times, but back then Scotland ruled by England, and they have a rule where if you marry on your wedding night, the bride has to have sex with an English soldier. And as you can tell by that rule, eventually Scotland starts to rebel. Something happens and he begins the rebellion against the English. And I think that's good enough to have like some kind of knowledge going in. Definitely give this a watch.
Number 15
my favorite Martin Scorsese movie, and that's Goodfellas. Story of real-life gangster Henry Hill, played by Ray Liotta. Great performances by De Niro, Ray Liotta, and Joe Pesci. I will say that if you are one of those people uncomfortable with language, it might not be for you. Goodfellas ranks 14 on the movies with the most F-bombs, with 300 F-bombs.
Number 14.
Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back. This one is gonna be very similar to that video I did of the Star Wars prequels being good movies. Not great, not bad, just good. So, just a little cheap plug. Go back and watch that video, scroll down to the comments, and I explain some more reasons why I love the prequels that I just forgot about. And if I annoy you with like doing like this, I'm sorry. Yesterday I filmed from 100 to 91 all the way down to 60 through 51, and today I'm filming the 50 through 41 to the top 10 I'm gonna do next. Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. The Battle of Hoth, great. The acting, great. Characters, special effects, all that stuff, great. The story, Obi-Wan telling Luke to go off the Dagobah to train, and before Luke finishes, he goes off to fight Darth Vader. And I think we all know what happens. Like, even if you haven't seen Star Wars, you probably know one of the most famous lines from the whole franchise. Just in case you've been living under a rock or somehow, some way avoided that, I'll save it to the spoilers. I love Empire Strikes Back, but honestly I'm not one of those people that think it's best. And I've talked to some people who have Empire Strikes Back as their best, and the reason they say it's the best is because it's dark, and that's fine. But if that's the only reason why that Empire Strikes Back is your favorite, then Revenge of the Sith should be your favorite. Because Revenge of the Sith, and this is another thing that I talked about in the comments that I just happened to think of while that video was processing, was the fact that if that's your reason for claiming Empire Strikes Back is your favorite, Revenge of the Sith is way darker. It has way less humor to lighten up the audience. And I find it funny, if you're one of those people that claim prequels had bad dialogue, are you blind to the fact that the originals had bad dialogue too? Scruffy looking nerf herder. Sure, one of the most iconic insults in cinema history. Delivery from Carrie Fisher was great, but the line itself, the writing, bad. If you don't believe me, had Empire Strikes Back not come out and someone had walked up to you on the streets or somewhere, just walked up to you and called you a scruffy looking nerf herder, and had Empire not come out and someone called you that.
Did you just call me a scruffy looking nerf herder?
Yeah.
What the hell is a scruffy looking nerf herder?
You?
Just shut up. Go to a mental asylum.
You'd think they lost their mind. You cannot tell me that is a good insult. As far as like writing goes, the delivery of Carrie Fisher was really what made that insult go from stupid to somehow iconic. And like I said in the prequels are good video, I love the originals. I love Empire Strikes Back. I love Return of the Jedi. I love Star Wars. I love all of them. I'm not like talking bad about Star Wars just for the sole reason because it sucks. Okay? I'm trying to show people that the originals are so much like the prequels in terms of like writing and some problems that people have with the prequels. It's ridiculous. Because if it works for Empire or the original trilogy, why are people hating it when it happens in the prequel? That I don't get. I'm sure it may seem that I may hate Star Wars with it, or I may hate the original trilogy, but I love the original trilogy. As pure entertainment and enjoyment goes, the original trilogy still I like better than the prequels. And it's always freaking adults who grew up with the originals too, because they grew up and they don't realize the fact that George Lucas himself, I don't know if I said this in the Star Wars prequels are good video or not, but George Lucas himself has said that he created Star Wars for 12-year-olds. That was his main demographic. And then when he created the prequels, he aimed towards both adults and kids. And in my eyes, he did a good job. But I'm not trying to turn this into like another freaking Star Wars prequels are good video. I'm not taking anything away from Empire Strikes Back. I'm not taking anything away from the original trilogy. Empire Strikes Back is my number 14.
Number 13.
Like Lord of the Rings, one of the very few 3 hours long movies that I actually enjoyed and wasn't bored at any time during it. Number 13 is Gone with the Wind. Clark Gable and Vivian Leigh play Rhett Butler and Scarlett O'Hara. Scarlett was, up until like the last 10-15 minutes roughly, when a certain event happened that caused Scarlett O'Hara to change her attitude.
This section is much shorter than it usually is in the upcoming ending to talking about Gone with the Wind. I just finished ranting for about 10 minutes to something that I didn't want to show, so if I seem annoyed, that's why.
Gone with the Wind is my number 13. Definitely check it out.
Number 12.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is my number 12. Jack Nicholson plays this prisoner who gets transferred into a mental hospital, and he encounters the head nurse, Nurse Ratched, who is played by Louise Fletcher. Jack Nicholson's character basically befriends pretty much everybody. One in particular becomes best friends with one in particular named Chief, and tensions rise between McMurphy and Nurse Ratched, and McMurphy, Jack Nicholson, and Chief have enough of her, and they plot to escape from the hospital. Great performances all across the board, from Nicholson to Louise Fletcher.
Number 11.
Is The Usual Suspects. It sucks because it was spoiled for me. Basically, Kevin Spacey, Stephen Baldwin, Benicio del Toro, Gabriel Byrne, and Kevin Pollak are the 5 usual suspects. They're suspects for a terrorist case that cops are trying to solve, and I think that's good enough. One of my favorite Kevin Spacey performances.
Alright, that's it for this video. Be sure to hit that like button, it really helps me out. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to come back tomorrow for the top 10 movies of all time. As always, like, comment, Twitch, MX97, follow me on Twitter, MX97, links in the description.